Members, I have received notice from the Minister of Finance that he wishes to make a statement. Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On my way in, I note my dear friend Chris Little from East Belfast was saying, would this be an hour-long statement? And I said I could do a summary at the top of the statement. That is the type of inquiry I would like to see, and I think it's an inquiry he and the members of the public would like to see. That is a no hiding place public inquiry into the RHI scandal, an inquiry which asks in public session, hopefully on TV, what did you know and when did you know it? Additionally, an inquiry which follows the money. And after all that, an inquiry which will hold to account, no matter how high, how low the position someone holds, it will hold to account anyone responsible for wrongdoing. Of course, the inquiry and its conduct will be a matter for the Chair. I want to move now to the formal statement. Ar a níomhláid ag anar dógur mé go bhfuil sé a gceistúgam fistrachan pibli a hunsnú ar an scéim neu cheolach inat nuaid sé drasach de teasa. Aniu tagamas cuaran tunnel the sorry in Istrachan sin a Yarravu le an airit ar balriacht in Istrachan agus a herami tagartha. Mar sin híon sola dugam faoi seo tá sé táhaach go bhfuil muid díri ar na cúntaí a thug chun an foinse seo muid agus a chéalaíonn inis gur fistrachan pibli an taon bhealach in Creidja chun tosaí. On the 19th of January, I announced my intention to institute a public inquiry into the non-domestic Renewable Heat Incentive Scheme. Today, I come to the Assembly to confirm the details of the inquiry. However, before doing so, Mr. Speaker, it is important that we remain focused on the circumstances that have brought us to this point and which now make a public inquiry the only credible way forward. The non-domestic RHI scheme was introduced in November 2012 to support the then Executive's programme for government commitment in relation to renewable energy. It was conceived with laudable ambitions and optimism to achieve 10% of our energy consumption from renewable sources by 2020. We must focus on why the botched RHI scheme went wrong and the circumstances surrounding it, rather than the environmental principles underpinning it, which remain, Mr. Speaker, right and proper. It is important to acknowledge that although this inquiry examines allegations of wrongdoing, many people did act appropriately in relation to the RHI scheme. In particular, I would like to recognise the work of my officials who, working with the Comptroller and Auditor General, have diligently and fulsomely applied the principles of financial governance and probity as set out in the Managing Public Money Requirements. It was my officials who unearthed this financial calamity and who formally notified the Comptroller and Auditor General, who then reported to the Public Accounts Committee. It is worth noting that happened under the tenureship of Minister Mervyn Storey on the 19th of January 2016. My officials thus played a crucial role in bringing transparency and scrutiny to the scandal. Additionally, given the position of my department at the nexus of government, I am ideally placed to initiate this inquiry. The case for an independent investigation into the RHI scheme is clear-cut. In his June 2016 report, the Comptroller and Auditor General concluded that the scheme had, quote, serious systemic weaknesses from the start, weaknesses that have resulted in overcompensation, abuse and significant financial risk to our budget and the public services it supports. The RHI scheme, according to the Comptroller and Auditor General, has the potential to cost the public purse up to £490 million over 20 years. That is money that I, as Finance Minister, would much rather see directed towards vital public services, strengthening our health and social care system, building an infrastructure fit for the 21st century, and educating and training our people. In recent weeks, Mr. Speaker, we have had a drip feed of serious allegations of corruption, mismanagement, incompetence and political interference surrounding the scheme. Members know, it's on the public record, my preference for a time-bound, independent, judge-led investigation under new legislation. This was underpinned by two key requirements to ensure that the public could have confidence that it would get to the truth and that this would come out for all to see. Firstly, it is absolutely vital that any investigation has the powers to compel witnesses and evidence. And secondly, the investigation needs to be free from ministerial control or interference. But the need for agreement on new legislation and the pending dissolution of the Assembly mean it was not possible to pursue this preferred approach. But there cannot be obstacles placed in the way of truth. That would be wholly unacceptable to the public. And in that context, the only way to respond to the public interest now is for me to launch an inquiry to be held under the Inquiries Act 2005, reflecting the scale of the public concern regarding this matter. I am pleased, therefore, to inform members on the shape that inquiry will take. I now have in place, Mr Speaker, an independent inquiry chair, distinguished retired Lord Justice of Appeal Sir Patrick Coughlin, who was nominated to chair the inquiry by the Lord Chief Justice. I am very pleased that Sir Patrick Coughlin has agreed to lead this inquiry, and I know he will be unflinching in his pursuit of the truth and scrupulous in his analysis of the evidence. I have agreed with Sir Patrick Coughlin that he will be supported by 2 panel members to get to the truth of this affair. If the panel considers it appropriate, assessors may be appointed to assist them. These individuals to be appointed will have relevant expertise and be from outside the North. I want Cloncorlia to turn to the terms of reference for the inquiry, which I have made as broad as possible in order to give latitude to the inquiry chair in his work. It sets a framework under which the inquiry will investigate, inquire into and report on the RHI scheme. This will include its design, governance, implementation and operation, and measures to control the costs of the scheme from its conception in 2011 to the conclusion of the inquiry. While the areas it will investigate will be wide-ranging, it will necessarily include key areas in which there has been huge public interest, including the development and rollout of the RHI scheme by the then Department of Enterprise, Trade and Investment, the signing off of the scheme by the then Department of Finance and Personnel, the issue of cost controls and tariffs, the delay in implementing cost control measures before November 2015, which led to the spike of autumn 2015, and the closure of the scheme in February 2016. I want to thank the Assembly parties who met me yesterday for their input to the terms of reference, which have, along with Sir Patrick Coughlin's expert opinion, helped to shape what I believe is a robust and balanced framework for the inquiry. I have laid now, members, a copy of the terms of reference in the Assembly Library. These will only be amended at the request of the Chair. I want to repeat that. These terms of reference will only be amended at the request of the Chair. So that is a power that I have under the Inquiries Act, which I will not be using. The inquiry team will begin its work on the 1st of February 2017 and will report as expeditiously as possible. Openness and transparency will be key touchstones for Sir Patrick Coughlin and his team. In terms of the 2 key requirements of Cloncorlia I pointed to earlier, the investigation will have the power to compel witnesses and evidence. Rest assured, every stone will be turned. There will be no dark corners where the light won't be shone. There are shortcomings in the Inquiries Act around the potential for political or ministerial interference. I therefore wish to reassure the public, Mr Speaker, by setting out the steps that I think must be taken to ensure absolute openness and transparency in that regard. The arrangements that I have detailed in this statement are intended to ensure this. It is also important, Mr Speaker, to stress the following. Having established the inquiry, it will now progress entirely in the hands of the Chairman. Sir Patrick Coughlin will, within the terms of reference I have set out, have absolute control over the scope and execution of the inquiry. The Chair has indicated that it would not be appropriate to issue an interim report. Likewise, the Chair informs me of his obligation to deliver the report to the Finance Minister. I call on all members from all parties to join me in pledging that any future Finance Minister will immediately publish the report as received. The inquiry will be impartial and objective. It will be tasked with getting to the truth of the RHI scheme. I will not interfere in its work. It will be entirely independent. There is an urgent need, Mr Speaker, to get to the facts of the RHI scheme, to identify negligence, incompetence, alleged corruption and abuse, and to hold those responsible to account. Tá má fásach go déanann ceist RHI haar cuasaí airgeadais ag ceistina rialachais agus ionrachais. Trí amsú na fíorine faoi scanal RHI creidim go raibh an oireann seo Israchain faoi stúr Sir Patrick Coughlin Iraq an lech is na sain ceistina sin agus de rí sin raibh sé bailach éigean le hatógáil anú a bhain scristan phobal na institute. Mr. Speaker, I am aware that the RHI issue goes way beyond financial matters to questions of governance and probity. By getting to the truth of the RHI scandal, this inquiry team, led by the distinguished Sir Patrick Coughlin, will, I believe, address those wider issues and therefore go some way to rebuilding the shattered public confidence in these institutions.
I call Mr. Philip Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I welcome this public inquiry and I thank the Minister for his consultation on the process. Unfortunately, I believe that this is yet another failure of this dysfunctional executive, that the Northern Ireland electorate will go to the polls without an output from this inquiry due to the failure to set up an inquiry well over a month ago when we first called for it. But can I ask, Mr. Speaker, why the Minister has not insisted on a preliminary report so that the Northern Ireland electorate can go to the polls with some relevant information on this scandal, why he has not confirmed a timeline for publication and also outlined a process for the independent appointment of the two panel members referred to in the report. Thank you.
Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. I know that there's an election coming. I know it is at times difficult to appease the Ulster Unionists, but I have this memory recently of the Ulster Unionist Party wanting a public inquiry into the RHI scandal. You've now got one. Do not prejudge the actions of Sir Patrick Coughlin. Do not prejudge his actions. He will act in an impartial and objective manner. He will be scrupulous in getting to the truth. He will be unflinching in making sure that he has not deflected from that purpose. It's my view that the best way forward is for the Minister to butt out. The Chair has said he does not think it appropriate to deliver an interim report. I think we respect that. If Mr. Smith believes that the Minister should start interfering on day one, actually day 1 is 1st of February, so minute 1, the Minister should start interfering with the impartial work of Sir Patrick Coughlin, then he has another think coming. So I trust and have confidence in Sir Patrick Coughlin to deliver to any future Assembly a report with recommendations and observations which will satisfy the public thirst and hunger for getting to the bottom of and getting to the truth of the RHI scandal. What I suggest to the member is that he too should have the same confidence in Sir Patrick Coughlin that I have.
Call Mrs. Emma Little-Pengelly.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I thank the Minister for his statement here today. In one sense, it is a little unusual in that it's not clearly within the finance brief, but it is an operation of the ministerial powers in relation to this, and I very much welcome that. The DUP has for some considerable time made it clear that we wanted and want an independent and robust inquiry capable of getting to the truth, regardless of what form that inquiry took. There are some concerns, as the Minister will be aware, in relation to an inquiry under the Inquiries Act, both in relation to the potential for excessive legal costs, but also for the potential for a lengthy inquiry, and I am somewhat disappointed to hear that there is no intention of an interim report. I know people out there want to see the truth about this. I certainly know that those who feel very unfairly vilified by this want the truth to come out as soon as possible. So I'd like to ask the Minister, what discussions have you had with the Chair thus far, both in relation to legal costs associated with the inquiry and also about the time frame to ensure that the findings can be brought forward as soon as possible?
Well, I thank the Chair of the Finance Committee and the member for her question. I thank her for calling along to my office earlier, where we had a short discussion around the statement today and the terms of reference. I return to my earlier point, and I think the member contradicts herself. If you want me to go back to Sir Patrick Coughlin and demand an interim report, then you're green-lighting interference in the RHI inquiry. I am absolutely steadfast in refusing to go down that route. That said, to take the other points, the member is right. Under a different type of inquiry, and it's interesting, the Irish for inquiry is Fistracán and the Irish for investigation is Fistracán, but under a different type of inquiry or investigation, we may have had the opportunity, and I know this is something that she tackled around the historical abuse inquiry, to look at costs and to look at time. That there are flaws within the Public Inquiries Act. That said, Sir Patrick Coughlin knows from his engagement with my officials, and it's in the terms of reference, that the public will have an eye to the costs, and he is encouraged to be cognisant of the costs. And I think Sir Patrick Coughlin will also be aware of the fact that people would like to reach some conclusions. And if we look at, and we've just finished the historical abuse inquiry, which was a wide-ranging, massive, many continents, hundreds, if not thousands, of people involved in that. In this case, it's fairly specific, the RHI issue. Much of the relevant material is available to this government, never mind to anyone else. We, I think, could be hopeful that the number of witnesses called would be circumspect. Of course, it's a matter for the chair. So I share the hopes of the member that we will expeditiously get a report. That said, these are matters for the chair. If I was pressed, I think that it would be appropriate for us to have a report 6 months after the inquiry starts. But that, in my view, is a matter for the chair.
Members, before I call Mr Conor Murphy, we have a very long list of members wishing to ask a question. We are limited in time to the amount of time the Minister is here. I would ask members to keep the questions short, sharp and focused. Mr Conor Murphy.
It would appear, Minister, that everyone here was clamouring for a public independent inquiry, but now want to stamp their own form of their conditions on such an independent inquiry. He quite clearly identifies that public confidence in this institution has been shattered as a result of the behaviour of successive DUP ministers in relation to this issue. Is he certain now that the type of inquiry that he has proposed, in which he appears to be handing over all control to the judge himself and thereby taking the political out of it, will in fact go some way to restoring public confidence in this institution?
Well, buan buas hort done colta as in question occurred. I actually do believe that what I have done here today, contrary to what Mr Smith said and what Ms Littlepengeli has suggested, that actually the idea of divorcing ourselves now from the chair is the right way forward. Anyone who believes the public would have more confidence in this inquiry if I was to continue to interfere in the terms of reference, if I was to say that a future finance minister shouldn't publish the report, if I was to interfere in the disclosure of documents, anyone who thinks that's the right way forward and that would restore public confidence hasn't been watching TV since the Spotlight programme went out for sure in December of last year. I think the public will welcome the fact that I have not only accepted the nomination of the Lord Chief Justice of Sir Patrick Coughlin, but also I'm going the extra mile. I'm putting in the terms of reference, which I'm not obliged to do, but I think public confidence demands it. I'm putting in terms of reference a series of commitments and pledges. And who knows if there will be a future finance minister? Hopefully there will. Who knows what party that finance minister will be affiliated with? But I trust, I'm not hearing that just yet, but I do trust and believe that every party will give the pledge that I'm giving, that there will be no ministerial interference in the inquiry. And I mean, I've taken that for granted, despite the questions so far. But you can't have your cake and eat it. Either you want the minister to interfere, which will absolutely undermine public confidence in the route that I have chosen, or you want to restore public confidence and get to the truth of RHI. And the way to do that is for the minister to step back and to give a pledge to serve the public interest.
Call Mrs Claire Hanna.
Mr Speaker, and I thank the Minister for his answer so far and for the announcements of this inquiry. In common with other opposition parties, we have been calling for a long number of weeks for an inquiry under the 2005 Act, and I'm glad of the acknowledgement of that, better late than never, although it is a regret that people are going to the polls without the facts being, or some of the facts at least, being in the public domain, free of spin. I also acknowledge that you have taken on board some of the feedback we submitted yesterday in the terms of reference. In the background, Minister, you state that it was your officials who unearthed this financial calamity. Are you satisfied that your officials, and latterly you, have done enough to uncover this and address it and rectify it in the time that you've been in post?
Well, I thank the member for her question. I thank her for her party also for making some suggestions yesterday, which were discussed as part of the conversations around in terms of reference with Sir Patrick Coughlin and my officials and myself. I also welcome the fact that there is a clear welcome from the SDLP for the route which I have chosen. It is absolutely essential now that we are on this path of seeking the truth of RHI, having set up an inquiry, having set up a distinguished justice to lead that, that we make sure in the time ahead that every party supports that and does not interfere in the work of the inquiry. In relation to the question asked there, I want to say that I want to speak in particular of the 7 months that I have been in the Department of Finance. I have been deeply impressed by the commitment, by the diligence, by the alertness of my officials to the RHI scandal. I mentioned previously the alerting the Controller and Auditor General, and just to put on record again my praise for him, which I mentioned, and I became the first Minister since devolution to meet the Controller and Auditor General last week, my praise for his work in this regard. But it is important to explain to the member, because there was a misunderstanding, I think, of the role of the Finance Department, the Finance Minister, in regard to all other departments. And it's a long time since Mark Durkan was Finance Minister, so perhaps the institutional memory is gone of that. But the Department of Finance doesn't hold responsibility for total financial management of all expenditure, and I know other ministers are very glad of that. The Department of Finance doesn't hold responsibility for total financial management of all expenditure. Its critical role is to ensure that all departments comply with the highest standards of accountability and governance as set out in the Managing Public Money Protocols. When those standards are breached, the Department of Finance has a duty to inform the Controller and Auditor General, as they did in the RHI case, which resulted in irregular spend.
Call Dr. Stephen Farry.
Speaker, and speaking for a party that has a longer pedigree in advocating a public inquiry than both the DUP and Sinn Féin, we nonetheless welcome this announcement, despite the tortuous path we've had and indeed the missed opportunities. Can I ask the Minister specifically with reference to Part 1, Section B of the Terms of Reference, and ask him, does he believe that they are sufficiently robust and comprehensive to cover, in essence, the interface between government and political parties, namely, in particular, the DUP, given that a lot of the narrative around this controversy over the past number of weeks has involved characterisations that probably go beyond what you would associate with the normal process of government. So it's important that we do capture the actions of individuals beyond their strict roles as ministers and advisers in terms of what may well be a party political role or a party consultation role in terms of the actions being taken.
Well, I thank Dr. Farry for his question. I know in the debate yesterday he was talking about a leap of faith in the RHI solution in terms of the finances, and there is, of course, a leap of faith in this, but I think he shares with me the confidence in Sir Patrick Coughlin. In terms of 1B, I hope that the terms of reference are as wide-ranging and as broad as possible. But don't forget, if in coming days, or indeed coming weeks, that you discover or someone else in the public discovers that there's an omission, the way forward is for Sir Patrick Coughlin to bring that forward and ask for an amendment in the terms of reference. And the pledge I am giving is, I suppose, a double pledge. Any request from the Chair will be acceded to, will be agreed to, but also that I won't be coming back with terms of reference to interfere in his conduct of the inquiry. So if Dr Farry believes that perhaps there's an area there that needs even broader remit, he's welcome to raise that matter with the chair of the inquiry. But I would just stress again, when we set about this, we said, how do you find out the truth of the RHI inquiry? How do you get to the dark corners? How do you make sure that no one can avoid the consequences of behaviour which was wrong? How are we going to hold people to account? The answer was, let's make sure it's broad enough to cover all eventualities, but there is that safety catch that if in the time ahead we found we've omitted something, if Sir Patrick Coughlin asks for that, I'm given a pledge to accede to any request from him, and of course I would ask any future finance minister is equally agreeable.
Call Mr Edwin Poots.
Mr Speaker, and I welcome the fact that we will have an independent means of getting to the truth, and given the maelstrom of information and misinformation that has been in the public arena, I would like to get that truth as quickly as possible, and therefore I would prefer a different kind of inquiry. But nonetheless, could the Minister give us any idea if there was a discussion with the panel chair on how long it will take to conduct this inquiry, and will there be an early findings paper produced based on the initial findings, and how quickly can that be received? Because I think the public deserve answers quickly.
I thank the member for his question. Let me just bring you up to date with some of the issues and discussions with Sir Patrick Coughlin. The inquiry, as you will see, Mr Poots, begins on 1st of February, and I presume that's gathering papers. It is Sir Patrick Coughlin's opinion and conviction that there should not be inquiry hearings before the election. I think members understand why he has come to that conclusion, and that is his decision. It is also for Sir Patrick Coughlin to decide how long the inquiry will take, and I think he has to follow the evidence. But he is aware of my opinion, which I have repeated here today, that the public would like expeditiously to get to the truth and to get to a final report, and I think we'll take cognizance of that. But again, it is not our role, I think, to tell him, and certainly we can't tell him under the Public Inquiries Act, that it has to be time-bound or time-limited. I mean, I mentioned I still have this feeling that a 6-month inquiry on the specific issue should be able to deliver for us, but it is a matter for the chair. And I trust I will repeat what I said earlier, Mr Poots. I'm not sure if you were here, but the chair is very strongly of the opinion that there should not be an interim report, that he will not make any report until he has all the facts gathered. That is his determination on these matters. That is what he has stated. So he will not produce an interim report, much as many of us would have liked to see that. And I think I respect his judgment, as with all these matters, in that case.
Call Ms Kiva Archibald.
And I thank the Minister for his statement. He has outlined that there are several dimensions to the inquiry, which is obviously necessary to get a full understanding. Will the inquiry examine the full circumstances surrounding the closure of the scheme in February 2016?
Well, thank you. Well, I think it must. I followed the Public Accounts Committee under my colleague Mr Swan. I read the devastating October hearing when Ofgem appeared. It was clear from that committee meeting, but also the many committee meetings and the great work that the PAC has done in this regard, that the spike is the focus. Obviously, there are many issues from its inception to closure, but it seems to me, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that the spike is where we got hurt. That, as the local, as the auditor, the Controller and Auditor General has said, the cost of the spike to our public purse is estimated at £24 million for 20 years. So I think it is correct that the inquiry will, I am sure, devote much of its resources to that period. I do want to mention one other thing, since I brought up the PAC and Mr Swan is here. Speaker, if you will allow me, that is the issue of Ofgem. And members will note that Ofgem is also mentioned in the terms of reference. And I want to quote Mr Swan when he finished the PAC meeting into Ofgem, and he said, My impression of Ofgem has plummeted today, and my confidence in it as an organisation has definitely been shaken by what I hear about how you have managed the scheme to date. The answers that I have heard today have made me question my belief in your competence, Ofgem's competence as an organisation. Ofgem will also be scrutinised under the terms of this inquiry.
Call Mr. Jim Wells.
Like many other members, I welcome this announcement. But I think out there amongst the public there will be several questions. First of all, can he give us a ballpark estimate as to the cost of the inquiry? And secondly, can he give us an indication of actually where it will be physically held?
Well, I thank Mr. Wells for his question. As you know, Mr. Wells, I preferred going down a different route where we may have had some more impact or influence on costs. We don't have that here. All I can say is that it is Sir Patrick Coughlin understands that it is the wish of all us that the costs of the inquiry do not add to public disquiet over RHI. He's cognizant of that. Terms of reference encourage him to be cautious around costs. We don't know where it will be held. I have a desire to see the inquiry held in public session on TV, and in that regard I do know a building where they have committee rooms which has TV coverage which can be broadcast, but at this stage the conversation about where the inquiry would be held is continuing.
Call Mr. Mike Nesbitt.
Thank you. Just for the avoidance of doubt, we're not advocating any ministerial interference from this point on. We're simply questioning what is and indeed is not in this document to date. And to be fair, in supporting a 2005 inquiry, and indeed, from what I read, incorporating all our recommendations following our discussion yesterday on the draft terms of reference, you and your party have come a long way onto our ground, and that is to be acknowledged. If we are now parking this politically, giving it over to the judge and trying to move on politically, I think it's appropriate to ask a political question. The Minister said he was ideally placed to bring forward and commission this inquiry. Be that as it may, he was ideally placed to bring forward a budget. And the fact he's bringing forward this and not the budget, I ask him, what does that tell the public about the ability of yourself and your colleagues in government to deliver a fresh start?
Responses for you, Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm going to respond by this. Philip Smith is sitting closer to you than he is to me. He said that I should tell the Chair to produce an interim report. Where I'm from, that's interference. That's the red line I will not cross. Now, I understand that perhaps the echo in here, you didn't hear Mr. Smith implore me to interfere in the work of the public inquiry. But again, red line, Mr. Nesbitt, I will not cross. I pledge that I will not interfere in this inquiry, and I still haven't heard from the Ulster Unionist Party the same pledge from them. So once today, your spokesperson on this issue, your spokesperson on the economy, has asked me to interfere in the public inquiry. I have rebutted him. I suggest that perhaps you do the same, but you will not move me. I don't want to say move me, don't want to give an inch on this. I don't want there to be no surrender on this issue. But I will not be interfering with this public inquiry, and I suggest you get on that page as soon as possible.
Call Mr. Raymond McCartney. Point of order, Mr. Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Can I just ask?
We'll take a point of order at the conclusion of the Minister's statement. Call Mr. Raymond McCartney.
Can I ask the Minister how, and I've heard his pledge this afternoon, but how can he ensure that there will be no political interference?
Well, point we has heard them called this there is in question. I can certainly assure the member of that for 6 weeks or 5 weeks or however it is long as the election, because I will be Minister until that date. But I do get the sense, with the exception of the Ulster Unionist Party, that everyone else believes there shouldn't be any interference in the time ahead. And the pledges I have made would be delivered on by any future finance minister. But let's just go through some of the ways in which, under the 2005 Act, a minister could interfere or tamper or mess with the inquiry. It is possible for me as Minister in the next 6 weeks to amend the terms of reference, appoint members of the panel, restrict public access to the inquiries. I can prevent publication of evidence placed before an inquiry. I can prevent publication of the inquiry's report, and I can suspend or terminate the inquiry. You can understand why some people, Mr. Speaker, have doubts about the efficacy of the 2005 Act. So therefore, to address those commitments, I have appointed a judicial figure selected by the Lord Chief Justice to chair the inquiry. I will appoint, as necessary, additional inquiry panel members agreed by the inquiry chairperson. It's his choice, absolutely. Also, if the chair asks for assessors, I will appoint those. I will only amend the terms of reference on request from Sir Patrick Coughlin, and I will not exercise, and I think it would be invidious for any minister, I will not exercise the power to restrict public access to the inquiry under Section 19 of the Act, where public interest or other issues arise under Section 19(3) of the Act. The procedure for seeking a restriction order to the inquiry chairperson will apply. So I am ceding all power in this matter as we go forward to Sir Patrick Coughlin.
Call Ms Paula Bradley.
Mr. Speaker, and can I thank the First Minister for his statement, and can I say I welcome his strong words when he talks about independence. And when I look at the purpose and the scope and the terms of reference, it is to restore public confidence within this government. So following on from the previous question then, is the Minister now going to refrain from any further public comment on this issue, barring issues where he has to amend?
Well, I thank Mrs Bradley for her question. The wonderful thing is when the Chair then carries out his independent review, the rest of us can say whatever we want. We can say whatever we want, but we can't interfere with the public inquiry. I do want to say as well that I think that the member and myself are keen to see the public inquiry set up, because we know in the streets and the roads that we work in and the communities we mobilise in, we're active in, that there is outrage over the cost of RHI, that if you go to the Dunkern Cultural Centre on the Antrim Road, the Mater Hospital, if you go to in East Belfast, the Ballybean Autism Centre, the great youth clubs, the Sure Start clubs, when we go in and people look at the scale of the money involved in this, £85,000 a day, I think that we can understand why there is lack of confidence in these institutions, why there's outrage among people. And I hope today that we have taken a strong step in saying to the public that we understand that you have been hurt by this, that there are economic consequences for ordinary people because of this, and we are taking an important step today to start building confidence again by appointing an independent person of great probity, someone who has given his life to the law, and that Sir Patrick Coughlin, we believe, will be impartial and objective and I trust, will deliver us a report which gives us the answers that I believe the public want.
Call Mr Patsy McGlone.
Agus muoithe leis an éire agus mollam san éire as golawach leis an fisrachan publi seo. Mollam sé as an neusblachas an China haspin sé few in Eden tull the farty hien ag an am sin. So I do welcome this decision from the Minister, genuinely so, and the independence of mind and spirit that he has shown, even against the wish of his own party at this time. But could I ask the Minister that he did refer in his statement to his officials unearthing the financial calamity. Could he give us some indication as to when those officials unearthed this information and to whom they provided this information, including other departments, please?
Ken Mohigan is in question. It's more true. I'll stop to Mullum and Tara, but you want the bar. I thought for a minute that the distinguished member was going to stop it. I praised the Minister. That would have been absolutely the perfect question and statement, Mr. Speaker. Yes, the issue is that, very importantly, when the spend was very clearly out of kilter with the business case which had been submitted for RHI in January 2016, my officials, at that time Minister Storey was the Minister who had stewardship of the Department of Finance, informed the Auditor General. I think the member will know that Kieran Donnelly, as Controller and Auditor General, is ruthless when it comes to spending which is deemed irregular, and that led to the report in June 2016, and I know he has studied that report from the Controller and Auditor General, and that, I think, was the most important piece in this particular jigsaw. It's not a completed jigsaw yet, but I do believe that the Controller and Auditor General served the public interest by issuing that report in June and then triggered the PAC inquiry. So the period, that reporting, as is appropriate, as they are obliged to do, that reporting to the Controller and Auditor General in January 2016 was an important moment in uncovering what was happening about RHI, and leads us to this position today, where we're trying to get to the truth of what happened through this public inquiry.
Members, we are now halfway through our time slot. There are a considerable number of members who still wish to ask a question. I would want to get everyone in. That means that members have to keep their questions sharp, focused, and indeed, if the Minister, without taking away from his explanation, can do the same, then I think we'll make better progress. Call Mr. Paul Garvin.
Speaker. Minister, I too welcome this inquiry, and in doing so, I want to ask in relation to what is meant in a paragraph where you would have liked your own personal desire was for a time-bound inquiry, with no indication of how long that can be, because I have absolutely, unlike some people sitting in here, I have absolutely no confidence that the judicial system work expeditiously in trying to get something through as quickly as they can. They tend to drag it out, from what I can see, for extra money, and I'm not calling into question, but I want to ask why there is no limit on how the spend will be in this inquiry. I believe that for what evidence there already is out there, there should not be the amount of money to put forward. It will be out of the public purse and out of our block grant.
Minister.
Well, I thank Mr. Girvan, and I sympathise with him, but the Inquiries Act doesn't allow me to demand a time-bound inquiry. But in my view, it would be. I think the public would be content if this was a 6-month inquiry. But neither you nor I will interfere now with the chair, Mr. Patrick Coughlin, as he sets about his work, and I trust that he will be cognisant of the issues of cost and time. But I think we need to back off as well.
Call Ms. Carol McCullen.
And the Minister mentioned the Public Accounts Committee's view of the Ofgem, and highly critical of Ofgem's administration of the RHI scheme. Will this inquiry, in all the detail that's examined everything else, examine Ofgem's role in this, and also the administration of Ofgem vis-à-vis the former Deputy Department and now the Department of the Economy? Will it investigate and examine their role in managing Ofgem's management of the RHI scheme?
Well, Boylan Bui has sort of called this in question. I think any inquiry will ask what went wrong, where did it go wrong, who was accountable, what happened, and in that context, I'm totally convinced the decision to involve Ofgem in the RHI scheme was a major mistake. That Ofgem has failed a scheme which was badly created, badly put together, no proper cost controls. But the influence and presence of Ofgem in the middle of that added to what was a mess already. So I hope that this report, yes, will also look, and Ofgem's mentioned by name in terms of reference, but will not miss and hit the wall when it comes to looking at Ofgem's role in this entire matter. I'm supposed to be short in my answer, so I won't mention, Mr. Speaker, I am dismayed that Ofgem's going to be part of the interim solution as well, but that's for another day.
Call Mr. Stuart Dixon.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, Minister, for meeting Mr. Ford and I yesterday, like you've met others, to praises of this scheme. I'm delighted that you've brought this inquiry forward, particularly as your party seems to have flip-flopped on the issue more times than a beachside shop in Portrush. However, can we be assured that the terms of reference provide no hiding place for anyone, and that all witnesses that will be required in front of the inquiry will be brought to the inquiry, whether they are in this jurisdiction or not?
Well, first of all, I want to thank Mr. Dixon and Mr. Ford for coming early morning I was hoping to see Naomi Long, but she was on a very important radio show yesterday morning, so couldn't make time for the finals. But she has her priorities right. That's for sure. What I would say is, number one, I think we have managed, as with almost all the parties, we managed to embrace the points that Ms Long put in a letter on Friday, I believe, about some of the terms of reference that you would like to see in the inquiry. I can commit, as he would expect, I mean, just an overarching point, I think we can commit to and have confidence in the Chair to make sure there is no hiding place, that we will find out what went wrong, who was responsible, and I trust he agrees with me that whoever was responsible, that person will be held to account. There will be consequences, no matter who they are.
Mr. Alan Chambers.
Minister, the MP Gavin Robertson this morning on the radio made a claim that the DUP had come along to your party in the middle of December with a plan for mitigation of the RHI scheme. Can you confirm if that was the case?
I didn't hear the report. I didn't even catch the name of the individual, but if he wants to come back to me on that issue, we can discuss it with him. You are aware that there was a meeting on the 14th of December, which was in the media, that Simon Hamilton and I had in Netherley, which was reported, 14 news channels. So that may be part of it, but if the member wishes to write and give me the name of the person, I didn't catch it. I didn't catch who he is or where he was, but I'm happy to do so. But for the record, the DUP and the Finance Minister and the Economy Minister met, I think, 14th of December on the issue of RHI.
Call Mr. Trevor Clark.
Sorry, can I, like others, Mr. Speaker, welcome this announcement today in relation to the public inquiry? And I take some comfort from Claire Hanna's suggestion that this will be free from spin. However, I note that the Minister has said, even on previous occasions, that his top officials were involved in terms of looking at the business case, and I presume they've been involved with the terms of reference and assisting the Minister at this point. However, is there not a direct conflict for the Minister's Permanent Secretary, given that he was the Permanent Secretary of DETI at the time that this scheme was set up? And if so, should he not be stepping aside, given that the Minister and many of his party members has asked for Arlene Foster to stand aside previously?
I thank Mr. Clark for that question. I know Mr. Clark was at the PAC hearing, which Robin Swan had the wonderful occasion to chair, and I would have paid money to attend that because it was certainly a difficult session for the PAC. Let me tell you, Mr. Clark, the steps I took to ensure that we do have an objective approach from my department in this regard. The Deputy Permanent Secretary, Mr. Colin Sullivan, was asked to lead on this issue and to be the interface with on all matters relating to the inquiry, including with the judiciary. So I'm confident that those within my department who have been involved thus far have not been involved in the RHI issues. Let me add as well as that, because someone did mention previously, well, where would the staff, the civil servants come from? It's very important that the secretarial and administrative staff for the inquiry are independent, and the word independent, I believe, is in the terms of reference, but certainly it is accepted and will be absolutely essential that the staff which works to Sir Patrick Coughlin in making sure that smooth administration of the inquiry, that they are independent of any influence, and we're not involved in any way in RHI. I think I'll leave it like that.
Members, we are making progress in terms of getting all members in, so I encourage the short questions if possible. Call Mr. Gary Middleton.
Mr. Speaker, the Minister has emphasised on a number of occasions the importance of the business case for the regulations. Can the Minister indicate if a business case has been completed to ensure the right approach, and if not, when will it be in place?
I didn't catch the number. You asked, Mr. Speaker, you asked when will the business case, which business case, sorry?
Inquiry.
For the inquiry.
Oh, sorry, my apologies. I think, I beg your pardon, Mr. Middleton. Yesterday we were discussing different business cases, and I became confused. Where we are at the minute is that my senior official who's dealing with this, who I mentioned earlier, is now working with Sir Patrick Coughlin to talk about the issue that Mr Wells brought up, for example, the venue, to talk about the number of staff he might need as well. And then we will be able to put a business case together and say, look, we think it's going to be in Stormont, and that would obviously reduce costs as opposed to the Europa Hotel, and we think there will be 4 staff rather than 8 staff. When we know those matters, I would hope, and I hope that's a matter of days rather than weeks, we'll be able to put a business case together so that we will have, not certainty, but we'll have a fair idea, Mr Speaker, of the costs, and that's a tough one, the time, and therefore the business case should stand up and give us some certainty about the cost of the inquiry in the time ahead.
Call Mr Justin McNulty.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Minister, we know that 80% of the boilers here in the north are fuelled by wood pellets, as opposed to 80% of the boilers in the UK being fuelled by wood chip. Can the Minister give us confidence that the terms of the inquiry enable the inquiry to consider why the scheme here in the north has been set up in such a way as to favour utilising the globally traded commodity wood pellets produced by one company in the north called Balcast, the £100 million annual revenue company Balcast in Fermanagh in the First Minister's constituency? Maybe the Minister can give us confidence that the inquiry will give us clarity around that issue.
I will say to the member what I said to everyone else. I would have confidence in Sir Patrick Coughlin and his ability to get to the truth and investigate all relevant matters.
Call Mr Donny Kennedy.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Thank you to the Minister for his statement. Will the Minister accept Sir Patrick Coughlin's recommendations in respect to 2 panel members and endorse and confirm his choices?
Yes. Yes, Mr Speaker.
Call Mr David Ford.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. I was going to ask the precise question that Mr Kennedy has asked, but there is a real issue about ensuring that Sir Patrick has the appropriate expertise, both financial and engineering, to assist him as assessors in the inquiry. And if the Minister could confirm that it will not simply be a matter of bringing somebody in for an hour or two, but to ensure that he gets the full professional advice he needs throughout, that would be helpful.
Yeah, well, I believe Sir Patrick Coughlin's aware there may be some politicians retiring, and they may like a job on the panel. But it is his view that actually the 2 panel members, one should be an expert in this whole area of renewable energy and energy, and the other person should be an expert in government accounts. So I think that you can be rest assured that your concerns, that it's not just 2 people dragged off the street, that it will be 2 experts in the relevant fields, that is his intention as well. Thank you.
Call Ms Sinead Bradley.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. And likewise, I just was seeking clarification that 2 panel members or assessors, if required, just clarification who will actually be responsible for appointing those people. But also to ask the Minister, I accept that it has been recognised that there is an obligation that the report must be delivered to the Finance Minister. But I would ask the Finance Minister, has he explored the possibility of the report being delivered to the public simultaneously, because we must face the sad fact that there may not be a Finance Minister?
Yeah, well, I thank Mrs Bradley for her question. It was a conundrum that we discussed with Sir Patrick Coughlin. First of all, yes, it will be his decision to nominate the panel members, and that will be done. In relation to the delivery of the report, you're absolutely right. What I had suggested was that it should be released to the public. But what Sir Patrick Coughlin pointed out is, under the Act, he's obliged to deliver it to the Minister. So what I have done then is I have made a pledge on my behalf, and I'm only here for another 5 or 6 weeks. I made a pledge on my behalf that that any Finance Minister from the party I belong to will release the report in full, as received, to the public immediately. And I would ask that everyone else here endorses that approach. So the conundrum you raise was tackled, and it's not the way I would prefer. I would have preferred that actually terms of reference said that the report would be issued to the public, but as Sir Patrick Coughlin pointed out, he's not allowed to do that under the terms of the Act.
Call Ms Claire Bailey.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. And I'd just like to ask the Minister if he can confirm if the inquiry will have access to, if necessary, and be able to investigate any potential links, if they're found, between party donors and the RHI scheme, and furthermore, will they be able to compel documents from the Electoral Commission if need be?
The member brings up an important question. It's not only compellability of witnesses, and that those that Sir Patrick Coughlin asks to attend, that they have to attend, but also compellability of evidence, that if there is information out there that Sir Patrick Coughlin needs to get to the truth of what happened, that he can compel that evidence to be produced. So the answer is yes, and it is my understanding that there is no piece of information, certainly in this jurisdiction, there may be issues outside of this jurisdiction, but certainly there are no items of information that he should not be able to and will not be able to access.
Call Mr Jim Allister.
Would the Minister anticipate that this inquiry will operate on the basis of the Chair appointing counsel to the inquiry, who then will cross-examine all witnesses? And further to that, will there be provision and criteria for legal representation by those appearing before the inquiry, and will Sir Patrick set that? And finally, if I can, has the Minister any concerns that a permanent injunction banning the naming of recipients could impact adversely on the inquiry?
Well, I'm confident the names of the beneficiaries of the RHI scheme, Mr Allister, to start at the end, will be released to the public. I know that will happen. It's clearly not going to happen today, but I believe that will happen. I believe that Sir Patrick Coughlin will have access to those names as well. The issue of counsel, the issue of representation, are matters that are being discussed and considered by Sir Patrick Coughlin. I look forward to his conclusions on those matters, and we will be taking his whatever stance he takes is a stance we will take and we will support in the time ahead. So issues of representation, I know they're being discussed, and he will reach a conclusion on those, and I hope we have some clarity about that. 1st of February, I think, is the date for the start of the inquiry. I think that will be an opportunity for Sir Patrick to answer some of those questions.
Call Mr Alex Maskey.
Just got to thank the Minister, first of all, for making his absolute pledge of non-interference from himself as the Minister for Finance, and a note that he has asked others to do likewise. I haven't, and I may have missed this, and apologise if I have, but I haven't heard any other party as yet saying that if they become the Minister of Finance from within their party and the future executive, that they also will adopt the same position of non-interference in any way whatsoever. So I haven't heard that, and I would like to hear that, if possible. But the question I would ask is, yesterday the Assembly considered a plan from the Economy Minister to save a figure of somewhere in the region of certainly less than £30 million out of the total of £490. Will the inquiry be able to examine the efforts of the Department to contain the cost overall?
Well, I thank the member for his question, and I thank him for his comments around my impartial approach to the inquiry and my commitment of non-interference in it. Yes, I do believe that all the facts relating to the RHI scheme will come out. I think that those of us who want to get to the truth, want to get answers about RHI, I think we are content that the full picture will emerge. And I am absolutely content and steadfast on the fact that since my appointment, I have pursued this issue in a diligent, vigorous fashion, and that the position we're at now, it's my regret that we didn't reach that in July of 2016 after the local government auditor report, the Controller and Auditor General report was issued. In June and in July was a real great opportunity for the Department of Economy to come forward with a solution. And then again in October, key meetings between officials, and I hope again that in October that the Department of Economy would come forward with a quick scheme, and of course it didn't happen at that time either. But you can be rest assured of this. I think we can all take confidence in the ability of and the determination of the Chair to get a full picture, and that picture will include recommendations and will spell out clearly in a way that cannot be disputed what went wrong, who was responsible, and who should be held to account.
Call Mr. Robin Swan.
Much, Mr. Speaker, can I start by reassuring Mr. Musk, if the Ulster Unionist Party get finance, we will not interfere with the publication of this inquiry. Just a point of clarification from the Minister as well. It wasn't, in fact, the Controller Auditor General who triggered the PAC inquiry. It was the Public Accounts Committee who triggered the Public Accounts Committee on back of the recommendations of the Controller Auditor General's report. The Minister refers to the work that the Public Accounts Committee has done in making it accessible to the inquiry. Can I tell him, as Chair, we'll be asking tomorrow that all documentation that we have to date, either confidential or restricted, I'll be asking the committee to give reassurances that that is forward to the committee as a matter of expediency. And I want, while I'm on my feet, to pay tribute to the PAC staff for the work that they have done since we started this inquiry, for this ALE and Karen and Darren, because they have done sterling work since we started this in June. But I want to bring the Minister back to point 16, and that's in support of the panel, where he references the panel will have access to external support and advice, including individuals with appropriate knowledge. And can I just seek assurance that there's proper due diligence carried out on those individuals to ensure that they have no connection or any influence with either the concept of this scheme, the design of this scheme, or the up-to-date auditing of this scheme?
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to echo the comments of Mr. Swan in relation to the Public Accounts Committee. I know there are copious documents now collected, and much evidence has been presented. I presume that will be fed in as soon as possible to the inquiry, and I particularly welcome, it was a long time coming, but I particularly welcome the pledge by the Ulster Unionist Party that they will not interfere in this inquiry. And it's not only, of course, as Finance Minister, if any future Finance Minister in some Alice in Wonderland scenario that the UUP hold the Department of Finance portfolio, but actually now, we all need to pledge now that we won't, for example, insist and interfere with the Chair and say you have to produce an interim report. We all insist now we respect the impartiality and objectivity of the inquiry. Thank you.
Call Mr. Alex Atwood.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Could I concur with the comments of Mr. Swan in relation to interference with the inquiry, but add that there's a quite transparent attempt by Mr. Maskey to create a fog about the fact that this week they're enthusiastic about a public inquiry, and last week were absent or out of leave in this chamber on this very issue. Everybody sees through the fog. Can I ask the Minister, however, given his commitment, the proper commitment not to interfere with the conduct of the inquiry, does he agree that under no circumstances must there be any reliance under the provisions, the flawed provisions of the Inquiries Act, whereby national security or the economic interests of Britain or the economic interests of Northern Ireland can be relied upon in any shape or form to suppress any detail in respect of this welcome inquiry?
Well, I think if the members calling into question the commitment of Sir Patrick Coughlin to get to the truth, to compel witnesses and compel evidence, I think then we part company. I have been, and my colleagues have been for some time, asking for the rigorous Fistracan inquiry, investigation, probe into these matters. And in fact, the interesting thing today is that the shortcomings that some people highlighted are now being discussed. And that to the side, I think that to some degree is in the past. I actually think we all want to keep costs under control, and we know that's not necessarily within the remit of the Minister under the Inquiries Act. We all like it to be time-bound. Of course, we can't insist on that either. And I take it. I know Mr. Swan said that they only wouldn't interfere with the publication of the report, but I think even he is saying that also it is his view that no finance minister should interfere with the holding of documents, should interfere with the holding of access to the inquiry and so on. I have confidence that we are at the start of a journey which will result in delivering to the public what they are hungry for, and that is the truth of what happened with this RHI scheme.
Members, I want to thank members and indeed the Minister for their efforts to ensure that all members who had indicated that they wanted to ask a question were able to have the opportunity to put their question to the Minister. That concludes questions to the Minister. Point of order, Mr. Ford.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In his question to the Minister on that statement, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Paul Girvan suggested that some judges spin out cases inappropriately in their own financial interests. Now, when I was Minister of Justice, I certainly heard such allegations made against a small number of solicitors and barristers, but I believe it's an entirely inappropriate suggestion to have made against any judge, and I believe that that statement of Mr. Girvan's has called into question the integrity of Sir Patrick Coughlin and other senior judges in this jurisdiction. I believe it would be appropriate on this, the last day of this Assembly mandate, that you invite Mr. Girvan back to the Chamber and give him the opportunity to withdraw his remarks.
Thank you, Mr. Ford. I think it is for Mr. Girvan to consider his remarks, but I would hope that, particularly in the situation we're in at this moment in time, that all members, that the judiciary would enjoy the confidence of members, and indeed that that would remain the case in the days and months and weeks ahead. Point of order, Mr. Nesbitt.
Just further to that, Mr. Speaker, I just wanted on record that the Ulster Unionist Party deeply regret what Mr. Girvan said, and in no way wish to be associated with anything that could be construed as an attack on the integrity of the judge, Sir Patrick.
You've placed your concerns on the record, Mr. Nesbitt. Mr. Smith, point of order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Minister, during his remarks, bandied around the word interference like confetti. Can I just clarify that we were here to discuss the terms of reference, or are they to be deemed to be interference as well?
You've placed your concerns on the record, Mr. Smith, as well.